So some of you know today was the Google I/O. It's a bit like Macworld. I thought I'd just take 2 minutes and share some of the things I thought were interesting highlights since it was a 3-hour broadcast. Basically, they're trying to do all the things that have already been done with Apple and the voice recognition. The interesting stuff is contextually aware. They had some basic announcements. There's a new platform named L. You can read the stats there. They got 5,000 APIs. 300 million plus Chrome users. Um, anyway, it's interesting. What they're planning on doing with it is going into what they call Google Wear. So your watch is now aware of your other devices. So if you take any notes on one or the other, they sync together. One of the things they also did was they unlocked the phone by stepping away from the watch. So if you take off your watch and walk away, your phone requires a password. But if you have your watch on, the phone's close enough, it knows that you're you and it doesn't require a password. That was kind of cool. They integrated a bunch of stuff with the automakers. There's a bazillion people jumping on here. Basically, you don't need to buy a GPS unit because your phone is the GPS unit. It's just a display in your car. So you plug in your phone and you can do your GPS, you can do speech recognition, driving to get me there, you control all the music on your phone, which is kind of smart. Rather than buy a $600 CD player or whatever for your car, you've already got that for a phone. All you really need is a display. So it's kind of an interesting approach. With Chromecast, a couple of updates. You can now Chromecast off another network. This is a big deal. You notice that's an iOS iPhone there. One of the big problems with Apple TV is that they limit you using Bonjour to only being on your network. So this is going to be new. I don't know how it's going to work, but it not only worked with different devices, but it worked across networks. That I think is a big deal. You can screencast your TV. They're making a big deal out of using your TV for everything. Doing demos where you're actually showing your actual screen, which screencasting doesn't do right now. That's an important thing. It only screencasts apps. This is going to screencast the whole what's going on. Integrating with things like Google Earth. Also live broadcast, so he's filming the crowd and throwing it up on the screen at the same time. Interesting twist on this, a thing called Backdrop, which basically turns your 60-inch flat panel TV into one of those $200 iPhone photo frames. If you've got photos in your Gmail account, you can just turn it on and it's the background for your house. That was pretty cool too. Basically, the whole idea is they're integrating more with your all your devices. So they had a whole section on what they can do with Chromebooks. Same thing, if the phone is next to the Chromebook, it's presence aware, and so your messages from your phone or your phone calls or whatever just show up on your laptop screen. Also, and I didn't understand all of this, but basically some of the apps that are only available on your phone and not on the Chromebook, you can mirror across and still use them. I didn't quite understand all that because they're not really running in the Chromebook, but your phone's close enough you can use them from your Chromebook. It was interesting. What else? They talked about dual identities where people have work and personal lives, and in the future they're going to be able to run all those separately, so you can use your phone and it'll keep all of your personal data separate, and it doesn't combine it in a single user profile. That's interesting. They talked about the growth, where they were at. 15 different major manufacturers now make versions of Chromebooks. They talked about 67 of the 100 top startups use Google. More than half of the Fortune 500. I mean, you can see that. Big deal. I thought this was interesting. The Google Docs thing. One of the problems you've had is dealing with if you've got a PowerPoint presentation. So they announced they've got built-in now Microsoft Office support. So if somebody mails you a PPT or an Excel file, you can open it up and save directly to your Google Drive and/or edit it as a native file. That's really interesting to me. They also talked where they allowed for notes. When you're editing things, there's a Microsoft Word feature where you want to be able to underline and redline and collaborate that way. That's new. They hit really quickly on a thing called Dingo or Duologo, which was It started by a Guatemalan, which is interesting to me. I've lived in Guatemala. But the biggest thing is that it's for learning 5 different major languages of the world. They have more people enrolled in this than the entire U.S. educational system, which I thought was interesting. I want to do something more on this. I'll just kind of blow through it. The big amount of time spent on using the cloud and or using their cloud services to write programs against. Now, this sounds a little bit like what Wolfram Alpha announced about 6 months ago, which I think is just huge. They talked about the people using it. Supposedly on this they can scale 1.3 million queries a second, and they're not using SQL. It's something proprietary they use. But basically you can start gathering and saving stuff off applications right to the web, and it's really simple. This guy came up and showed not only could you write simple code, but you could actually debug it live in the cloud on the server. And that may not mean much to get people, but those of you that know, I used to write a web page and then I'd FTP it to the server and test it and see how it worked, and then I'd go tweak it and bug it, and then FTP it back to the server. Now this is editing live on the server real time while people are using it. Pretty crazy. And they tied that into Dataflow, and they actually had Eric Schmidt show up, who wrote some really stupid simple lines of code. There's 3 of these that he did, and then he could actually track his data flow of tweets, all information coming across the internet for tweets, Google, and whatever, live for the World Cup. And he demoed this both with this little screen real time what had been happening during the Brazil-Croatia game. And then he was able actually to analyze it and show that even though in the 96th minute when Brazil scored a goal, their popularity plummeted. And he was able to click and go right into the tweets that were coming through, and then it had to do with the referee's call at the game. I just find this incredibly useful. This is the future. To be able to program live against data in the cloud rather than against your own database is just phenomenal. A couple other quick things. This lady's in charge of Google Play. She talked about these 4 or 5 key strategies they're going into. A new partnership they had with for beta testing. Google Platforms. Sorry, I went through that a little faster. These guys allow you to run your app and test it against, what if I had an iPhone 5? What if I had an iPhone 6? Whatever. This is a major partnership, and they can do it for iOS, Apple, and or Android devices off this one company, and Google now owns them. They're stepping into the Fit platform. They talked about a lot of companies that were building devices. The most important thing is now you can get applications where the data, for example, here's data about what you're eating, here's data about your exercise, and here's data about your weight loss, actually all coming from 3 different apps, from 3 different programmers or people, and you've just unified them into one thing for your convenience on your phone. A list of people that are being involved. This is a big one, and I didn't get the stats, but Google now allows direct carrier billing. In other words, I can get you to download an app, and then instead of paying me through the Google Play Store or through my credit card or PayPal, it just comes on your cell phone bill. So if you're a Verizon user, you just paid for the app right through Verizon, or if you're a T-Mobile user or Sprint. I think this is huge. This is really huge. My cell phone, I get rid of PayPal. I get rid of Visa. I get rid of a lot of things. It's huge. This is a game changer. They talked about how much they paid out in the last 12 months. There were some stats. I want to see what else is on here. Oh, that door swings both ways, as you can see right here. Google's got 75% of the market, but they're not making as big a profit, which kind of looks like that. Anyway, basic idea of what was covered. I highly suggest you check it out yourself.